It's as if we're all a piece of carbon that can be a priceless diamond, but we all have the value going in. All we have to do is cut and shape it. With what? An identity. What identity? Each human is born with 5 to 7 major talents. Do you know what your 5 to 7 are minimum? The ability to hold a scalpel steady is inborn. Tweezer dexterity is inborn. Finger dexterity is inborn. The ability to deal with words is inborn. Colors and shapes and spatial relations are inborn. They need to be brought out of the soil and watched and developed. What are yours? Sure, there are your hobbies, but you can earn money with them as well. And even if you don't, you want to spend more time doing what you love, your identity or your talent, strengths, and a positive label. Competence can make up for all three. If you didn't have a winning family, if you've never felt worthy, and if you don't know what your identity is, you can still become a champion by competence. That's called self-efficacy. When you begin to do something and it gives you a feeling of control over the outcomes of little things, local competence creates global risk. In other words, when you do something locally that's successful, you want to take on more responsibility and risk. And therefore, self-trust is your ability to solve minor problems and then bigger ones. The key to self-esteem is the ability to take your value and pay it forward or pay it out, and to be able to accept it when it's paid to you. And many of you have known through the years that all of us who talk about it say that one of the biggest tip-offs on self-esteem is eye contact when you're talking and listening without looking down and away. A child who can raise his or her head up and look you in the eye, reach out his or her hand, look you in the eye, and give you their name. Hello, my name is, and mean it. Even liking the sound of their own name. When you make a telephone call, you always give your own name first as you're calling. Why? Value available to serve, to be remembered. When you're answering the phone, you give your name, even at home. Why? They may not know you're there. They may not know it's your home. So you tell them who you are. I know my kids have said, "We know, Dad, just checking." Because I give my name, Denis Waitley. I remember writing my first book, The Psychology of Winning. It wasn't any good, so I left it in the drawer for 5 years. It wasn't the book wasn't any good, the author wasn't. There's a difference between what you do and who you are, and if you don't feel worthy as an author, you just can't get anything published. And I remember sending, like all authors do, you remember Stephen King, you remember what happened with Carrie, you remember that he sent it out 15 times, you remember how many times it was rejected, you remember when the baby got sick, you remember when they pulled the phone out, remember he was making $50 a week working in a laundry. How would you like to walk into a laundromat and find Stephen King? Hi, come on in. I'll tell you a story while we're going through spin. He could play an instrument. He played a musical instrument and he wrote, but his wife just got tired. The baby was sick. They had no phone. So she sent Carrie out one more time. So it became the best-selling book and the best-selling movie of that year, and ever since he's done it. It really takes this kind of persistence and accepting any value and paying it out. So when anyone says anything to you of any value, please learn the Olympic way of accepting a gold medal. The Olympic way is to put your shoulders back and say, "Thank you, I appreciate it." If you say, "Just lucky, I guess," they'll know it was. If they say, "Great golf shot," and you say, "Close my eyes and swung," they'll say, "Right on, duffer." If they bring you a present for your birthday, please don't say, "Oh, you shouldn't have, you spent too much." They'll think they did. And otherwise you won't get a raise either, because you may not be worth it, your humble self. Humility is serving others with grace. Humiliation is where you're constantly knocking the product, believing that if you knock yourself, you'll be a steward. No, you won't. People always listen to the way you explain yourself, the way you talk about your problems, the way you communicate. It's a tip-off. Self-esteem is the ability to pay value forward and accept it graciously when paid to you. And a lot of it has to do with the way you talk. So you can accept it comfortably. You can praise and critique performance without feeling rejected. You can reinforce good behavior and boost it if it's a failure. Being clean and neat is a tip-off. People who hurt themselves don't like themselves. People who help themselves like themselves. Eye contact, communication, and positive self-talk. You've heard it 1,000 times, but in a minute I'll give you the Olympic way. I believe that winners believe in their dreams when that's all they have to hang on to. I believe that what gets in the way is fear, and fear is always of catastrophic danger. Fear is obviously of rejection. Fear is of failure and of change, the unfamiliar. The unknown, the unfamiliar, the rejection. The bottom one is where I've been stuck. Most speakers claim they're raised in a poor family. I was. My father was a penniless alcoholic, died of lung cancer and cirrhosis of the liver. He said, these things will kill you, and they did. And he smoked because he saw the movie actors and actresses smoke. And during our days, the best seats in the theaters were all smoking. They were called the loggias, and they were all leather with ashtrays. And so the smokers would sit in the best seats in the house. They'd buy the cigarettes out in the lobby and be smoking. We could just barely see the screen, which is why we sat in front. So he drank and smoked himself to death. And as a result, I grew up with the fear of success, doubting myself and feeling guilty when I had success. If you've come from a family that does not have money or success, you might think that you're just a little reckless, believing that you're worth it. But overcome the fear of doubt and the fear of guilt. Guilt is when you get the biggest piece of cake at your own birthday. Guilt is when you do well and other people say, I got lucky. And they think you're selfish because you're successful, but you must be able to step out and forward and handle the guilt and doubt that other people may have. False evidence appearing real, all the speakers use that. Ignorance, what will happen? Prejudice, I can't forget what happened. And premonition, it will happen again. The mind is incredible. It'll happen again, I know it. I can't forget what happened. I'm not going to get married again because of that experience. And what will happen in the future? I've just written a book, Safari to the Soul, How to Overcome Fear in the Savage Paradise Called Life. I think life is a savage paradise. I think it's a paradise to people who know how to work with it, and it's a savage place for those who don't. And the most important thing to understand is that life is a jungle, and the jungle is neutral. Life is a backdrop, and you and I are the players. The question is, do you want to be an unfamiliar tourist in the jungle, or do you want to be a guide? If you're a guide, you understand. You understand that there's breadfruit, bananas, mangoes, papayas, and clean water and places to hide. If you're a tourist, there are black mambas, yellow mambas, scorpions, lions, tigers, and there's malaria and yellow fever. There's all the dangers if you're inexperienced. If you're experienced, you see the potential. If you're inexperienced, you see the danger. Knowledge, training, skills, and experience overcome fear. You get role models, coaches, and mentors. They help you learn the correct swing. And then you gain courage and confidence with knowledge and training. The best way to overcome fear is knowledge and action, and that's why you're here. You're here to eliminate the fear of the unknown, the fear of rejection, the fear of change, and the fear of success. Self-esteem, I'd like to give it to every child in the world, a deep down inside the skin feeling of your own worth, regardless of your age, your looks, your ethnicity, your gender, or your background. Given my parents and my background, I'm glad I'm me. I'd rather be me living at this time than any other time in history. I'm not the best looking in the group, I look my best in a group. Self-esteem is believing that you have enough potential to become a world-class person. And all you need to do is find somebody else who believes enough in you to help coach you through it and mentor you through it. Regardless of current performance, that's the problem, isn't it? But I'm not earning, I haven't done anything. How can I feel good if I haven't done it yet? Well, that's just it. It's potential, not performance. And you'll understand. If there were 4 legs to the chair, or 4 cornerstones, the 4 legs would certainly become affiliation and belonging. A gang is when you belong even if it's wrong, but it gives you power. If you don't belong at home, you belong to a gang. Everyone wants to belong to a winning team. One of the reasons that motherly love is the greatest, it's the affiliation between mother and child that creates the optimism of self-esteem. The father is very important because without a father, you tend to want to associate with the outside gang and break away. So belonging as a winning family or team, we all want an esprit de corps, we all want to hang around winners. Worthiness is very difficult to get, especially today, because we see athletes and celebrities who do these incredible things and we don't think we measure up. If you have children still, make sure you go into their room just before they go to sleep and create a straitjacket out of their sheets and blankets. Fold them over so they can't move. And they're lying there on their pillow and they can't move their head away from you. All animals out, cell phone off, computer shut down, video games not there, and you've got them. Hi, I've been watching you and you're about the most special human being I've ever met. I'm so glad to be your parent. I love you so much unconditionally. There's no conditions on my love. I love you so much. And having a feeling of worthiness, regardless of what you're doing, is the underpinning of unconditional love and built-in value. The most important opinion you'll ever have is the one you have of yourself. No one looks at a photo of you with such scrutiny. Just look at your own wedding pictures or look at any picture that's been taken of you and you'll look at yourself and say, ooh, don't you have another one? We tend to be so critical of ourselves. Every blemish instead of blessing is what we count. The word TIP is an acronym. Every speaker, you'll hear Brian's acronyms. Jim Rohn has acronyms. We're walking acronyms. Fear, false evidence appearing real. Luck, laboring under correct knowledge. LUCK. Posh, port out, starboard home, cruise ship. Posh accommodations, port side out, starboard home. The word TIP, to ensure performance. That's what it means. Wait a minute. If TIP is to ensure performance, why do I give it after the meal? Too late. Too late then. You're reinforcing something that we're giving 15 to 17%, even if it wasn't good service, they expect the tip. Two kinds of tips. Reinforce good behavior, tremendous feeling of recognition. But the best tips are given before anyone does anything because it raises the level of expectation in your children, your associates, and in you. Would you want a tip on a good stock? You bet you would. Well, why would you bet on them? They haven't done anything yet. But they have good management. What does that mean? It means they're going to perform. Yeah, but you want me to bet on them before they perform? Yeah, you invest in them and then it goes up. If you wait until after, it's too late. The people are already selling when you're buying. A tip is an expected level of achievement which you want to give to yourself and other people because only an expected level of success is motivational. And if you expect more from yourself and others, you will perform more to that expectation than anything else.